Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Shannon Gilmour. I am a Christian author and life coach. You can find my books on Amazon.com. Today, I would like to discuss with you a little something that is actually near and dear to my heart. I'd like to talk to you about mothers and the deep heartache that they can cause. I'd like to dive deep into the heart of the matter, as the heart wounds of mothering run extremely deep. And many of us do not realize this. And if we do, we ignore because the pain of having to accept the wounds of our mothers is too much to bear. Now, I am not a psychologist and I'm not a psychoanalyst, nor am I a clinician. But I still know a little something about human nature without holding a doctorate, because I have been working with the public for a very long time, as I believe life experience gives us knowledge that is invaluable. I help you sift through the hidden pain of life experiences in a way that helps you to decide for yourself how you best want to live. Life oftentimes seems like it leaves us with no choice, especially when we are left with trauma hidden deep within that can leave us feeling helpless and in doubt. I too have been there, as it was actually the public who helped me heal with the pain of my own hidden abuse from both my parents. I use in my coaching practice both psychology and biblical assertions from a layman's point of view and a practicing point of view, because I practice what I preach, both psychologically and biblically. These two realities of psychology and bibliology, if you want to call it, I believe that when placed together, they become a dynamic duo, a dynamic force in making change happen. Now, science gives us a knowledge, and the Word of God gives us a faith to trust in, as God's guided wisdom is meant for us to interpret the knowledge that we gain from life so we can apply it to our lives. This is therapeutic and freeing, as it helps us to understand our purpose in life from a vantage point of standing outside of the pain instead of asking questions about our pain while engulfed in pain. I personally spent many years, over 20 years, of helping others in peer support and crisis outreach counseling. This for me has been a huge asset in my own healing, as talking is what I believe is a beneficial form of therapy. How my journey began was through personal circumstance. I was a young child of the Canadian foster care system, and as a foster child, my peers would ask me why I look so different than the people I lived with. Now, going to school, I used my foster family's last name, and so people assumed that I was so-and-so's sister or daughter, but they couldn't make out why I looked so different. Those who wanted to know why were bold enough to ask. Children would ask me point blank why I looked so different than my fair-skinned, poker-straight, blonde-haired, blue-eyed siblings. They wanted to know if I was an illegitimate child. And I guess in some ways I was. But I would give them the simple answer, at first hoping that that would be satisfactory enough. I'm adopted. But with kids, that simple answer wasn't ever enough. So I would find myself explaining that, okay, technically I'm not adopted. Here's the difference between being adopted and being a foster child. Well, then they would ask, do you remember your family? This would lead to in-depth answers, which led to more in-depth questions. Now, with the hows, the whys, and the wherefores sorted out, kids just accepted me as I was, and I did feel a sense of belonging, even though I didn't know it at the time. My answers were as truthful as my memory would allow, because a lot of my memories are still fragmented. And I actually take that as a bonus. Thank God they are. But I felt a sense of security in being able to share my story. And this allowed me to form a connection with others, because what happened was people were then coming to me and sharing with me their like-minded stories. Little did I realize that this was helping me to form and develop empathy as other people began to share with me their trauma. I don't believe that I would be who I am today without that outlet. I wasn't encouraged to talk about my pain in my foster home. I was a part of the family, but not really, you know. There was always that black cloud hanging around me that I didn't belong. And I have to say, from my perspective, I felt it. But it was common knowledge, and it was told to me that I was in the family, so my past no longer mattered. I had to forget the pains of my past, because in my family home, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And that is serious business. Children need to talk about their pain. So my pain leaked out in truancy, and my foster parents didn't know what to do with me, and that further separated me from any relationship with them. So speaking about myself to others openly and honestly in front of age-related people really felt healing and liberating. I didn't go and seek out their attention, and I didn't ask for it. I didn't desire it. It honestly got a bit daunting telling the same story over and over and over and over again. But as I'm sharing this with you today, and for the first time, I realized that a lot of good came out of that experience, and I can't complain. The reward that I have gained, I am seeing now, reflecting back and sharing with you. It's very humbling, and I can say that I didn't see this before. Sharing with you openly right now, thank you, because it has helped me to realize that I am able to love myself and others in a way that I have never expected because of the experience so long ago. Talking to my peers at such a young age enabled me to develop a love for myself and for them and for you. This allowed me to become aware of my own existence and become accepting of my past. And our past is a huge part of our identity. Talking helps you to connect with your identity. We can't deny it. I couldn't deny it. My foster family wanted me to, and the sad thing is that most of us who are trauma bound to abuse in our family homes do not talk out of fear and out of a sense of that if we do, we will be the ones to betray the family. But for me, And probably for you, those memories stay with you and they haunt you. For me, I couldn't make sense of the fragmented memories I had. I don't even think I tried. But back then in my youth, it was enough to share those experiences with others who didn't judge me, because that is what I needed, and that is what you need, to feel validated. Talking helps you to form your identity. And it helps you to feel okay with who you were and who you are. The interpersonal connections with others so long ago have been invaluable to me. And this is something that, again, I just realized right now, that helping others and doing what I do for 20 years is my way of saying thank you to them, those kids that I can no longer interact with because they're adults and they have families of their own, and there's, a natural separation and parting of the ways. But I can show my thanks in other ways, and I do, by helping you. And now suddenly it makes sense why I have this driving force to help others as I do. It's a love. It's a love that I have that nobody can take away. And it's because of those people who unknowingly helped me. You. You guys have no idea how much you help me and help others. And I didn't know how much those people in my past have helped me. But God is in the details. So maybe this can help show you that nothing happens without reason. Nothing in your life is in vain. We take a lot for granted, yes, and I know I certainly have, but the heart prints that are left within, we take those wherever we go, and those heart connections are invaluable. Please never forsake that. Once you see the stepping stones of life, and they are there, the better you can see how others can help change your life for the better without you even realizing it. Wow. That's something deep right there. I am truly moved and thankful. In 2007, another shift happened in my life when I and my family moved to a farm. I lost my contact with those on the outside world physically, as I was not able to continue with my peer support counseling in the way that I was used to. This was another stepping stone, as the solitude and isolation allowed me to reacquaint myself with childhood trauma that I had myself disassociated from. Working on myself and working on yourself is troubling. It's difficult and it's debilitating. But the isolation forced me to seek myself inwardly. I had heart work to do, and I needed to do it. I was forced to work through the trauma head on through my own behavior as a mother. Through the help of the insight I had from helping others, I applied this to myself, and I sought God for the rest of the answers I needed. My memories, like I said, are heavily fragmented. And the people who possibly could give me answers are not accessible to me because of the foster care system. I had no choice but to go this alone. And I did, with God's help. Now, turning to science enabled me to understand hidden concepts that I could not tap into without the knowledge base science provided. Without science, I would have been stuck. The information I learned, I applied to myself that enabled me to dismantle hidden limiting beliefs that I formed from the trauma bond with both of my parents. Understanding that the subconscious stores hidden memories and behaviors was the hidden pathway I needed to go down. God shared with me that I unknowingly had one foot chained to my past, while the other foot was free to walk towards Jesus. Once I hit a point of where I could go no further, my faith became stuck. And that's what happens to most of us. You have to unchain yourself. You have to unchain the chains that bind you to yourself of your past. And God and science allowed me to do just that. Understanding how the roles of our parents have had in our upbringing that paves the way we think and behave as adults is detrimental to us becoming the people we need to be for ourselves, for others, and for God. The most important bond we will ever have is with our mothers. She is the first and most important source of love imprinting that allows us to become attached to self. It is her attachment to us that enables us to become self-aware, incompleteness, and insecurity. When our mothers become detached to us willfully or through the design of her own hidden trauma, it cuts off an emotional signature or signal, if you will, within us. Think of switching off a light switch. You cut off the power to that light, but the power is still remaining in the wires. There is no longer an emotional conduit for us to feed from when our mothers cut us off. We have no inner emotional dynamic to grieve from because it is just what it is. But the emotional scarring is not felt right away because we have to deal with it. And we have no sense of grief to model ourselves around. But the more we grow emotionally in our maturity, the more scarring becomes apparent. And we don't know how to deal with it because we still have no way to grieve from it because it is what it is. When the emotional conduit of love is severed for whatever reason, losing the mother bond is our first form of loss. And it is the most tragic because this is something we never get a chance to emotionally release ourselves from or find closure through understanding what the hell happened. The trauma bond of the wounds of the dissociation of our mothers is a blight on us that causes emotional depravity, that allows us to seek love elsewhere, forming unhealthy relationships and irresponsibility in our actions and reactions to receiving and giving love. Detachment is a disconnect that I believe is equivalent to death. Even though the two people, the mother and child, may cohabitate and share the same space together, the experience of feeling unwanted is more than tender hearts can bear. This forms a trauma that is confusing to the child because the child is aware of his or her presence and the presence of the mother. So, why isn't she there? Why doesn't she help? Why is she not available to give us hugs when we need it? The child's needs are never superficial. And the needs of the child goes deeper than what we might think. The physical development begins inside the womb. But the emotional stability within the child continues to develop as the child continues to bond with the mother outside of the womb. This makes sense, right? Just because the child is born, it is assumed that the only dependence the child has on the mother is through feeding and clothing and meeting the child's physical needs. But the love for the child is shown through willful expression, something that the mother is not able to express as her baby develops within the womb. But there is a mother-child bonding going on as her baby develops inside of her, and this is what science can share with us. We all have an inherent nature to love and be loved. Now, where does this come from? It comes from our mothers, as it comes from her when we are developing inside her womb. Now, she is not conscious of this, but there is a connection between mother and child that not even she can break. And when she tries, as through trauma, the child cannot break this bond with her. What we instead feel is the symptom of living in lack of her love. We love. The love we have for her, we are willing to give it freely because the love we have been raised with inside her womb is unconditional, because love she gave to us freely, unknowingly. We have an inherent connection to our mother's heart, and science can show us this in a very unique and dynamic way. I have taken the interpretations of scientific discovery of the heart from heartmath.com and applied it to my own understanding and trauma of how the mother-child bonding actually works. And here's what I've come up with. The heart is more important to the body than what we once believed. The heart pumps blood through our bodies 100,000 times a day. And it is because of this, something actually happens within the heart that science has discovered. The pumping action of the heart causes a natural electromagnetic field that can be measured. The magnetic field actually is a pulsation, and it flows along the bloodstream as the force of the pumping action pushes blood cells through the veins and arteries. So this not all, but some of this electromagnetic field is pushed through the bloodstream with blood platelets and blood cells and nutrients and oxygen. And this directly connects the mother and child in a bond that is unseen, as the umbilical cord is the feeding tube and the blood source of the baby. The mother's blood provides nutrients for a growing baby via the umbilical cord, but also an energy that is complete in love. The electromagnetic pulses of the heart that are pushed through the bloodstream, this is what helps to form and give life to the developing baby, as the electromagnetic energy from the mother helps to form the child's own electrical current that initiates the heartbeat and keeps it going from the brain. The heart secretes hormones, and the heart and brain are actually in communication with one another. This is new science that we 20 years ago did not have. Just like Adam's rib was used to form the life form of Eve, the energy from the mother is given to the developing child to keep his or her body in constant motion inside and outside of the womb. But there's something unique about that energy. Science has shown us that through scientific and specific instrumentation, the heart's electromagnetic energy actually radiates out of the body in all directions. The measurement is about 3 feet from the body and has the ability to become absorbed by the environment around us, including other individuals who are also in proximity. Experiments performed by scientists at heartmath.com or .org, have shown that just 2 people who are in the same room together and they are both focused on the same thing, their hearts will become equalized on the same frequency within 2.5 minutes of being in proximity to each other. The 2 hearts become congruent and become one with each other in syncopation. They emit the same frequency and the hearts actually beat as one in perfect timing and rhythmic action. This information can share with us that there is a heart connection between mother and child as the baby develops inside her body.